Bracher, and we are a strategic design studio based in New York. We focus mainly on driving what I call truths and human science through our strategic design work. So I think for me, I'm a designer because someone that's curious, and in some ways as a sort of closet scientist. Design forces you to really study something very carefully and iterate on it and hopefully come with new discoveries. And I find that super interesting because it crosses over for cultures, classes, times. And so for me, it's just a wonderful way to really learn about our world and where we are today. For our studio, we like to work with what we call experts, anthropologists to mechanical engineers, optical engineers, etc. But we also work with folks that are really embedded in human sciences and how they affect your body, how they affect our lives. And I find that really interesting because it drives out what I call truthful results and truthful answers instead of an opinion that's formed by a designer. It's defensible information based on physics and science. And so if this product is actually better for you, then that to me makes more sense than just looks great. And so one of our products that uses this idea of human science is a product we've done for a human scale called Vessel. It's a lighting fixture. We worked very closely with optical physicists. We couldn't do this without them. And most lighting out there tends to be an LED that's packaged in a very nice shape. That's not the way I look at design. So what we wanted to do is solve a real problem, and our LEDs almost always have a lot of glare. And so what we've done is come up with this technology with these physicists that are able to use what's called TIR to hide the optic and actually hide the reflectivity of the glare of the LED in a way that you don't see where the LED is, but the light is coming out. The idea around it is we come with a result that is difficult to achieve unless you incorporate science and physics into the process, which is exactly what we do. So the creative direction that we do, it's different from product design because it's not around tooling and how to deal with manufacturing and supply. It's around how to find opportunity for the business. For example, Georg Jensen, which is a Danish silversmith, we also design product for them, but we also help with some strategy, helping them understand how to elevate within the market. I find that really interesting because it's not about creating product, it's about how to approach and how to think around solving their problem as a business, as well as how to reach that audience. I think when I consider the work that we do, we get quite often a comment that the work is very minimalist, and I always sort of laugh because it's not minimalist at all if you understand our process. I call it an essentialist process where minimalism is implying the reduction and reducing, which also means there was extra there than you finished with. So I look at it the other way around. It's an essentialist process where we're adding only what's needed and nothing more. And that's how nature evolves. That's how things in our natural world work. And that results in a very essential, in my mind, a very understandable language. It's about only having. My name is Todd Bracher, and I run a small design studio in New York, which is specialized in product design, industrial design, furniture design. We're material-driven people, but this is a new type of material for us. Working with cork is fascinating. It's got its own presence, its own textures. It's a pattern that's developed by nature. This collaboration with Wallpaper Handmade Exhibition and Amran has been really interesting. When cork arrived, we fell in love with it immediately, straight away out of the box. It's not like wood, it's not even like fabric, it's not like anything we've known, so it's got its own life. The idea was to create this jacket, which suddenly was like furniture that came alive. It's furniture that had movement inside. Some of the challenges with cork for us was its stiffness. It's similar to a leather in some ways, or even a denim, so it has that sort of weight and that kind of strength to it. This is an earlier version. The warmth of this material is just fascinating, and it has this sort of crazy memory to it. I guess we're halfway through the process, and we're still studying how does this jacket come together. So it's kind of old and primitive. We might think of cork. It's actually quite technical in this application. It's material that's easily forgotten, and we have a new appreciation for it, that's for sure. For me, the Das Haus project is a sort of experiment, I guess you can say, in meaningful living is what I call it. Meaning, what if we started over with architecture? What if we really chose how we wanted to live and then let the architecture be the result of that? So the Das Haus is an exploration in how we can question how we live. For me, it's education for the mind, it's food for the body, and it's objects and such for the spirit. So it might be gifts and things from your family. And when you put these together, the result is something really new. And to me, that's exactly what Das Haus is. We've created 3 separate zones to the house. So we have one main room, which is the room we're standing in, which we call the sustenance room. It's a place to consume. So you would eat, you'd read, you'd play games, you tell stories, you learn. All these things happen side by side. We don't have a kitchen over there and a living room over here. The idea is it's combined. And we have a tool wall, for example, where you might be cooking, but you also might be building or taking apart something, and it's all the same. But then we have another space called the resting space. It's a black box. It's meant to be a place to process and to think. So it's not a bedroom. It's a place to think and daydream and to nap and to sleep and to meditate and all the things that you would be doing around rest. You walk in and you see a moon, and it's this moment of disconnecting from the world, I guess you can say. And then we have outside, we have another space called hygiene, where we might take a bath outside. Something I think really beautiful about being truly in the nature, really properly reconnected, and in a way that we can't do. At home today, you take a shower inside, you're in this glass box. It's super unnatural, and so we're trying to push back to what's really meaningful and natural. Capellini and Masoto and these Dinesen, who sponsored the material, we were trying to approach to our message, I guess you can say, from a very honest, very natural point of view. And for me, these brands understand this. So we very much selected companies from around the world that identify and relate to exactly that message. Hello, my name is Todd Bracher.
Thanks so much for joining us, Todd. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your design?
So, as you know, the concept behind Carte Blanche is one A4 sheet of coriander and maybe 4 millimeters thick. And the idea is, what can we do with this one sheet? And for me, I made a project called Physical Illusion. And the idea behind it is taking this one sheet and showing it to you unchanged, really. It's the same physical mass, but how we approach it is creating a new volume with it. So essentially that one sheet has been expanded and cut up into a different arrangement, so to speak. So at the end of the day, it's still the same one A4 sheet, but you see coriander in a different way, maybe a way you don't expect to see it.
And I think you said that this is your first time working with material. What did you enjoy about the surface?
I think what I enjoyed about it is how the idea came, and somehow there's a warmth to this material, there's a softness, the monolithic quality to it, and we started by just cutting the material, and by cutting it, that's where the idea came from. It is so beautiful, even the shavings, which is what this is. Material to work with, that's a really difficult question. I feel like a boring answer, but I feel like it's true, is wood, because wood is so flexible. You can do so many things with it, from building a house to making a toothpick. You can go to the extremes, and I think the material is timeless, obviously, and it's wood. For me, I try to identify what's truthful, and if you're honest and loyal to the truth, your result is timeless in some ways. So for example, a tree is my perfect example for me, whereas I look at a tree in the park, I don't think you question if it's beautiful or not. I don't think you look at it and say it looks kind of 20 years, it looks like it's from the 1980s or something. Like, you wouldn't have never an opinion like this, because it's a tree, it's beautiful, of course it is. It's a truthful result of the ecosystem. Whereas a car, that looks kind of a few years old or 10 years. You can choose a time and a place that it exists from, and you can identify it, because that's an opinion, someone's opinion. And I think we can choose to like it or not, and that's fair. I think a tree we accept it as beautiful, and so I try to work in that way, where it's a truthful, honest result from its environment, and therefore it's void of trend, I hope, because it shouldn't matter. It's really something that surpasses that. That's my goal. That's what I work for. People haven't changed, right? Everything else has. But for 400 years, for the most part, people are people. What's meaningful to us hasn't changed. Shelter, security, health, happiness, love, all these things, those are constant values. And if we design to these values, that's what's important. The context, the contemporary culture that's associated around those, that's what's moving all the time. So what I look for is to try to find the baseline that we actually are all linked to since forever.